In a French bistro, this will cost you $80 to $85. The secret is real veal demi-glace. I'm going to show you the traditional method, the way I was taught in chef school, so you can make this luxurious dinner for less than $50 a plate. And if you get the pepper wrong, I'm sorry, but you've ruined it. Today we're making steak au poivre and Steak Diane, traditional to the T. Easy to make. Perfect dinner for Christmas Day or New Year's. You can have a luxurious, great dinner for less than $100 that you would spend at least $175 in the restaurant for. These two dishes cost us less than $65. They serve the steak au poivre usually with pommes frites. We showed you how to make truffle fries. This recipe for truffle fries that I've given you would be perfect to serve as an accompaniment to the steak. We're also going to make Steak Diane, which is very similar, it just has the addition of mushrooms. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get our steaks ready for going. We got our saute pans here heated up. I'm just going to tone them down a little bit so they don't get too screaming hot. And I'm going to grind some fresh pepper. This is a must for this recipe. You know, I got about a tablespoon or so in there. And when I grind my pepper, I do about a medium to fine. You know, I have some fine pepper in there, I have some medium grind, but I don't have any big cracklings. With this recipe, you want to have some big cracklings. So I've got my mortar and pestle here. I just go in a circle. And like in less than 15 seconds, Zach, can you see what I got here? The natural shape of the bowl and the mortar. So you can see there, I've got pepper that's ground, but it's still chunky, but there's no whole peppercorns there, you know, and I'll spread this out, and this is what I'll dip my steak in to give my crust. And let's go to the fillets. The reason why I wanted to do this dish for Christmas was, you know, there's only two of you. You know, you can't buy this whole big prime rib or a whole tenderloin, or not spending a lot of money for just the two of you. And this takes really just a little bit of prep work with chopping up some shallots and garlic. You buy yourself a couple of nice 9-ounce fillets. It's a dish that you can cook quickly. It's within the budget, a dinner that's gonna cost you less than $100, and you're gonna have something special. This is a great New Year's Eve dinner or Christmas Day dinner. I've got two prime fillets here, and I'm going to pound them down a little bit, okay? And I'm using a tenderizer to do that, and I want about a 1/2 inch. You know, I'm not killing these, okay? I'm just getting this so we get a nice thickness to where this fillet will still have some pink inside. Now, we're gonna hit these with salt. Just a little bit of kosher salt, because we're making a sauce for this, and the sauce is going to have some savoriness and flavor because of the veal and the garlic and the shallots and the mushrooms. So just a little bit on the salt, and then we do one side of the steak, okay? And we press that in. We don't do two sides of the steak. Now, if you were doing both sides of the steak, I would use a general rule of thumb to only dip a steak on both sides if it's more than 12 ounces, or if it's more than an inch, inch and a half thick. Because if we peppered both sides of the steak, it would be too much. I mean, I love pepper, but I also want to taste all the other ingredients, okay? We're going in with a little olive oil. As you can see, we've got some nice shimmer. You know, I've got my copper pan. You can see that it's smoking. That's what we're looking for. Pepper side down. We want to get that crust developed. Okay, see how dry our fillet is? We want that as well. My fillets were already nice and dry. They weren't sitting in any juice or anything, so they were good to go. Now, the steak au poivre is a popular item in the French bistros. You know, it's a nice tender piece of meat, high quality. It's cooked to the temperature you like, which medium rare to medium is the most desirable. You let it rest, and then you make a pan sauce. And so this is a la minute cooking, okay? Generally, what I like to do is I like to go about 2 minutes per side, and no more than 8 minutes, no more than 4 minutes on each side for a good medium to medium rare, depending on how much you pounded these down. If you like it more well done, then just pound these out till they're much thinner, because what happens is it starts to bounce back a little bit and it gets a little bit thicker than when you pounded it. So you want to pound it just a little bit thinner than what you want, because it'll come back. As that meat starts to cook, it'll start coming back together. You know, I'm just gonna take a peek here. We're at about 1 minute. You know, I could have cooked both of these in one pan, but I'm gonna do two separate sauces that are very similar. Okay, we're using, we're gonna deglaze. I got some garlic from the farm here that I chopped fresh. When you peel garlic, make sure you cut that root end off. I got some fresh shallots here that I chopped myself by hand. None of these were done in a Roboku, so they're not all wet and mashed. You know, there's a nice dice on them. And then I've got some baby portobellos here that I sliced. I've got this nice glace de veau, which is reduced veal stock, and it's got so much gelatin in it, you know, it looks like a piece of Jell-O. Then we're going to deglaze with some brandy, a touch of white wine to keep everything from burning. Okay, I'm gonna give these steaks a toss. See that nice crust we got? I got a nice medium-high heat here. Nothing that's burning the side of the pan, okay? Excuse me, that pepper. But hot enough that this second side is searing nicely. You need a good quality pan like this to get this kind of color. We've been using a non-stick pan that I really like. It's from Mizzen, and it doesn't look shiny and brand new, but this non-stick pan, you can use metal spatulas, you can use a scrubby in here, and it keeps its non-stick ability. Really love this pan, but this was a little bit too big to do this and make a sauce with this much pan area, that it would have been too much sauce. So, but if I was doing two steaks, I would have done it in this pan. These pans I got from my father as a gift after I graduated chef school. I've had these pans for over 40 years, and you can tell. You know, they don't even look copper anymore. But you know, made with the brass handles. This is a newer one that's available that's quite a bit more expensive than the one I got. I got a dozen of these for a gift for graduating chef school. But these here don't have that nice heavy handle. It's built like this to keep it from getting hot. This here will get warm. So that's probably one of the advantages of this pan, is I don't need a towel for this one, because the heat transfers and disappears. With this one, the brass, I mean, I need a towel to hold this one. But you know, in a restaurant situation, you always have a towel in your hand. So I'm gonna turn the heat up on these because they're just a little bit too low. You know, we got this nice crust here. If we got this too hot, then we're starting to get caramelized, burned juices along the side, and that's going to affect the flavor of our sauce. What we're trying to do here with sauteing in this type of pan is getting this right here. You see this? This is fond. That's flavor. You know how it comes off on the tongs there? We want that, okay? But we don't want this so hot to where it's burning, okay? You know, and these right now are a nice rare. You know, always whenever you're cooking a piece of meat, you want to let it rest for a good 5 to 10 minutes, especially on a piece this small, at least 5 minutes or so. On the bigger ones, like we did that 4.5 pound porterhouse this summer on the grill outside, that took like 25, 30 minutes to calm down. But the smaller the steak, the less rest time. You know, when we sold a filet in the restaurant, we always told the customer to let it sit for about 5 minutes because we had just pulled it off. See that nice brownness? Okay, can you see the side there, Zach? How it's starting to, you know, and we're not burning, you know. You know, move the steak towards the oil so it can use that oil to crisp up. And we're at about 6 minutes right now. You know, 2 minutes per side, flip twice. You know, this is the second 2 minutes on the first side. And then this side will be the fourth or the second time on the second side. So as you can see, I wanted to do it on purpose. See how this is starting to get a little bit of color on there? That's as far as you want to go. You want to have it more like this here, okay? Look at the crust on there. The black pepper is starting to brown, and that's what we're looking for, okay? We'll go another 2 minutes, and then we'll make our sauce. I'm liking where we at. We're gonna put this steak to rest, and we're going now to deglaze with shallots, garlic. Not, you know, like a couple teaspoons of garlic. It depends, you can always add more. Get that mixed up in your oil and see how it absorbs the oil right away. You know, now we bring a little bit of white wine to calm it down, just an ounce or so. And then cognac or brandy, I'm using brandy today, about 1 ounce. Okay. And for the Diane, it's a little bit of mushroom. And we get this sauteing up. See how that white wine and brandy have deglazed that? We've got some good sauce going there now. We're looking at about 2 ounces, maybe 3, of veal glace. You know, veal demi-glace is for infusing flavor, and it's a reduction of stock. They make it exactly the same way I would, by reducing good, clean veal stock to a point where nothing is left but the savoriness and the gelatin that was from the bones. And that's natural gelatin there. That's pure veal broth that's been reduced. That's this flavor without any salt. And like I said, this is not salt or peppered. So we're gonna put a little bit of salt, but we're gonna hold off on the pepper because we got the pepper on here. This dish in a restaurant would probably cost you, because of the price of meat right now being ridiculous, $55, $65. You know, I mean, you've got the veal demi-glace, which is not cheap. Okay, you're looking at about $1 an ounce for the demi-glace. But again, like I said, you know, you're not buying a whole prime rib at $200. You're getting a great special meat dinner for the holiday. I'm gonna put this one over here because those mushrooms need a little bit of a higher heat than I'm getting out of that burner. You want to get these mushrooms cooked. You know, I know on the marsala I use a pre-cooked mushroom. For this application though, I like to do the fresh mushroom. I like to have it still have some texture. You can see this reducing now. We'll add about an ounce or 2 of heavy cream, okay? And we'll get this reducing now nicely. And while these are reducing, we have cold butter, and we're just gonna use a little bit of salt to flavor our sauce. And then what we're gonna do is, once those steaks are done resting, we're going to cut them, place that on the plate, and like I said, this is the point now where you would fry your French fries the second time. You'd have your oil at 360. You would have already blanched your pre-cut French fries. You know, you cut your shoestring French fries quarter by 3 inches. You blanch them in 300-degree oil for 2.5 minutes. You drain them, you spread them on a sheet pan, you get them cold, and then they're ready to be fried. And those French fries will last in your refrigerator 3-4 days. If you blanch them correctly, if they're fully cooked but no color. So now I've got my French fries, they're cold, they're cut, they've been blanched. I have my oil started and heated up at 365. I would be frying my French fries right now as the last 2.5 minutes of this reduction process is happening. And as you can see here, look at that sauce. Look at that viscosity that veal demi-glace brings. Check for salt. Just a touch of salt on the poivre. They're gonna be ready for just a little nugget of unsalted butter to kind of bring it all together. Some people like to use green peppercorns for this, which I absolutely adore green peppercorns. Instead of putting the black pepper on the steak like we did here, we would rub the green peppercorns into the steak instead. And maybe just a little dollop of Dijon mustard with the Steak Diane, which we will do once we add the butter, okay? So I'm liking how this looks. I'm gonna put about an ounce, maybe 2. Same thing with the Diane. And also with the Diane, I'm gonna put in maybe a teaspoon of mustard. That's it, you know, just a little whisper, just a little sharpness. And we turn the heat off, okay? Remember, we don't want this boiling when the butter is melted. You see, we got a nice sauce here. It's not gluey. Those mushrooms are still firm. That the heat is off, that butter is melted. And same thing here. This is the steak au poivre. Look how beautiful this sauce is. Okay? And you can put mustard in this one too if you want, but that's technically not the steak au poivre. Okay, both these sauces are done. Okay. Look at that. Juicy, medium rare. I like to cut the steak a little bit on the thicker side. You can cut it thin if you like it that way. And we spread it like so. All right. Second steak. Look at that. Just maybe a little bit past medium rare, but still juicy and medium and delicious. You know, tenderloin likes to be cooked to medium rare medium. It's just so lean, you know. And again, your French fries now would be coming out. You'd toss them into a bowl. You'd hit them with a little white truffle oil and some salt and pepper. And then for the steak au poivre, look at this sauce. Look at this, you know, not too much cream, not too much butter, just enough veal demi-glace to give us a nice sauce here. And this is what's for New Year's Eve or Christmas. This with the truffle fries, and then the Steak Diane, another winner. You know, you want to look like a professional chef, don't pour your sauce out of the pan on it. You'll get laughed out of Jacques Pepin's chef school. You know, and we didn't season this. You can add crushed red pepper if you want. You were doing a party where it was really high end. You dab those steaks on top of a kitchen towel first. But I mean, there it is. Steak au poivre and Steak Diane. Serve this with white truffle French fries and you'll be a rock star. And you put a dinner together for less than $100. Delicious. I can't wait any longer. And I know Zach can't. And see how that sauce is still light? The pepper and the beef are just talking to me. You know, they stand alone. And the sauce, it's a compliment. You can taste the brandy. The shallots and the garlic are just there in the background, but they're not overpowering. And the veal demi and the butter just give you that nice velvety, smooth viscosity on the tongue. I'll cut a piece for Zach. Now we're gonna do the Diane. And again, only pepper one side, otherwise it's just too much for both sides. And see how nicely that crust has stayed on. And see how this sauce, it's not like broccoli cheese soup. It's nice, it'll get thicker as it cools off, but I mean, this is palatable. Oh, this is Steak Diane. You get this in any French bistro with pommes frites. You can make this dinner. This is not one that's difficult. Get great ingredients, grind the pepper fresh, chop your own garlic and shallots, get some good veal demi-glace, or make it. This is another pearl, folks. I just gave you 2 today. I hope you put them on your necklace. We'll see you next time on Introduce the Kitchen.